Hi, I'm Noreen Whysel from the Internet Safety Labs, and I'm here to talk about informed consent and participant data privacy. We'd like to be sure that the data about our research participants stay between us and the test participant. But are our participants fully aware of the data sharing agreements underlying the participants' use of these testing tools? The confidentiality agreement that they have with us is only part of the picture. In this short talk, I'll discuss how to ensure your participants know their data is collected and how it might be used or shared beyond the scope of the covered research project. I'll focus on a mini audit of several user testing software packages that we performed based on the 10 attributes for respectful Me2B commitments that underlie our safe technology specification. Researchers collect and store data with a number of different research tools that in turn use underlying technology that may also access this data. We call that a Me-to-T relationship. Knowing who might be eavesdropping through the testing platform's relationship with these underlying tools helps you to evaluate whether you are exposing your team or your participants to risks that come with access by these technologies. A lack of notice and consent to share data is a significant risk. While the risks to the researcher are similar to those of the user testing platform, the platform bears responsibility for ensuring that anyone participating in a test on their platform has an appropriate level of notification of the data being collected and shared, as well as allowing the participant control over whether to continue. Now let's look at our audit. Researchers collect and store data with a number of different research tools, and that creates that Me-to-T technology relationship that we spoke of before. Our mini audit is not randomized and only reflects the software packages that we either have been using in our own research or those that we've documented in forums that we participate in. But you'll notice right here that most of the software we looked at shared data with Google and other external vendors. At least one shared with Facebook and 2 shared with Amazon and Microsoft. You can see that just for these 8 companies, there are a few dozen companies or company assets that are also receiving data. The ones in bold are advertising or tracking software. And many of these tools aren't necessarily exploiting user data, but they are doorways to entities that now have some access to your participants' data. For our study, we used a tool called Tracker Map that exposes tags allowing data sharing between entities. And what you're seeing here is a map of the underlying connections between the testing software and various first and third-party technologies. We were particularly interested in advertising networks, analytics, and trackers that are represented in blue, red, and gold. We started with Google and Microsoft Forms because they are popular free tools that a lot of people use and don't require a lot of expertise to set up. We expected to see sharing with their own advertising networks, but it turns out we only found Microsoft sharing with Bing ads. A savvy user may see that Google has its own privacy policy here at the bottom of this form, and they may note that it would be in addition to any data policy for the study that you present to them. And also notice that this form here has a line saying that the survey contains a completion code for SurveySwap, which is a panel recruiting company. And this indicates that the participants might have some additional third-party technologies that are in play here. But I don't see any reference to privacy and consent practices of these underlying technologies. So maybe Google doesn't share much. But SurveySwap data indicates that participants in the study are potentially being exposed to data sharing from the panel company pretty extensively. We ran a few other tests. Here are the tracker maps at a couple of usability testing platforms that we examined, and you can see that at least one is sharing with DoubleClick and Google. Survey vendors tended to have a relatively small number of tracking vendors. And the third group that we looked at was those panel recruiters, where we actually did see a lot of activity sharing with entities like Facebook ads, DoubleClick, Microsoft Marketing, and Adobe Metrics, at least in this one. I mean, when you look at these, you should be asking yourself whether your participants are aware that these entities may have access to their data. We feel it's a good idea to remind participants about any Me-to-T consent relationships that they may have when they participate in your study. So what can you do? Product development is flawed. Often there is no consent when testing with potential users. So researchers should advocate for informed consent through a form that highlights all potential recipients of participant data, including any additional data policies underlying the usability platform software or panel recruitment agencies. Software platforms should take a close look at their data protection responsibilities and make a greater effort to inform participants and test creators of their data sharing policies. And this should be not just once, but every time you create a new study and every time your participants participate through those technologies. I'm looking forward to hearing any questions that anyone may have. Enjoy the rest of the conference.